On December 31st, 2025, Six Flags Qiddiya City opened to the public, just outside of the Saudi Arabian capital of Riyadh. It's the first Six Flags park built from the ground up since 1971, and is currently the only Six Flags park outside of North America. It spans 79 acres with 6 distinct themed areas and 28 rides and attractions, 8 of which are roller coasters. These range in size from 40 feet tall to 640 feet tall. Six Flags Qiddiya is home to 5 world record-breaking attractions, including the world's tallest tilt coaster, the largest pendulum, world's tallest inversion, world's tallest drop tower, and the tallest, longest, and fastest roller coaster in the entire world, Falcon's Flight. At a cost of a whopping $1 billion, Six Flags Qiddiya City is the first of a much larger giga project known as Qiddiya City. This is an entire city built from the ground up, designed specifically around this power of play philosophy. Next door to Six Flags is the water park Aqua Arabia. Surrounding the park is a state-of-the-art F1 track. Up on the cliff will be a new stadium fit to host the World Cup. There'll be a performing arts center, tons of hotels, shopping, dining, and even more theme parks. 10 more, to be exact. It's a wildly ambitious project with the goal of helping increase tourism to Saudi Arabia. When Qiddiya was formally announced in summer 2019, the country as a whole was only receiving around 17 million visitors a year. By 2030, they hope to bring that number up to 70 million people. We'll see how that goes, but creating a world-class theme park of this size with this much ambition is certainly a great first step. It absolutely worked on me. I'd never been to Saudi Arabia before, but in December 2025, I flew from the United States to Riyadh, specifically so I could visit Six Flags Qiddiya City and attend its grand opening ceremony. It was one of the coolest things I have ever witnessed, and I'm so grateful I had the opportunity to be there for such a historic moment. Easily the craziest fireworks display I've ever seen, with pyro literally being launched from Falcon's Flight, and we had a surprise performance from Alicia Keys right after, which was just crazy. Following the ceremony, I was able to explore the park in its 6 themed realms, and over the next 3 days, I completely immersed myself in the park and everything it had to offer. So this is going to be my full in-depth review of Six Flags Qiddiya City based off of my own personal experience. These are my real, genuine thoughts because despite what some are convinced of, I was not paid by the park nor the Saudi government to say any of this. I visited the park on my own free will, using my own money, and everything I'm about to say I genuinely believe, and I hope that you'll find it helpful should you plan a visit yourself. Now, speaking of which, how on earth are you supposed to get here? Qiddiya City is positioned 40 minutes outside of Riyadh in the middle of nowhere. You're driving through the desert past the stunning two-wake mountains with nothing else around you until suddenly, boom, there's Falcon's Flight. At the moment, it is hilariously random. But the park is 57 miles from the King Khalid International Airport, so it's accessible by car as long as you don't mind braving the crazy driving. I definitely don't recommend it for drivers with less international experience. Ubers do exist out here, and you can take them to the park for relatively cheap, but you can also take a train, which will take longer, but it's very comfortable and affordable. Simply take the metro from the airport to Kaft, take a quick transfer, and then you'll get off at Jeddah Road Station. It's from there that you can board a Qiddiya City bus that'll take you the last 40 minutes to the park front entrance. This is actually closer than you'd be able to get should you drive. There's not a parking lot next to Six Flags, so you have to park at this welcome center about 10 minutes away. They have restrooms, a small market, prayer rooms, anything you need, and it's there that you board a bus that'll take you that final stretch to the front entrance. You'll pass the Aqua Arabia water park, a future 500-room hotel directly between the two parks, and you'll literally drive on what will eventually become that F1 track. After its anticipated opening in 2027, drivers will be able to literally race alongside Falcon's Flight, flying directly underneath the park's entrance bridge, which is going to be an incredible visual. The buses drop you off on this lower level that, as of right now, very much feels like a construction site, but in the near future, it'll be home to a shopping and dining district, very much in the style of City Walk or Downtown Disney. It'll actually connect Six Flags to Aqua Arabia, so you'll be able to walk between, and I think it'll really encourage people to stick around for longer, which is nice, because as of when this video is being made, it's just the Six Flags park there. If you have to visit your hotel, you're probably about an hour away. The next nearest restaurant, probably a good half hour away. Everywhere you look, there's construction, but that being said, Once you pass through the front gates of Six Flags Qiddiya City, you can't really see it anymore. They've actually done a fantastic job at immersing their guests. The theme park itself feels done. The area around it very much is not, and they've done a good job at hiding it. So go up this beautiful set of stairs. There's actually a small little playground on the right-hand side, potentially a first stop maybe for some of your family members. And you have a stunning walkway up to the front gate with Falcon's Flight wrapping around you, passing directly over your head. What a way to make an impression that the first ride you see is the park's signature attraction. Falcon's Flight is absolutely massive in person, and this section that you're seeing up front is towards the end of the ride. You're still decently high off the ground. The track ducks under the bridge, does this huge bank turn on the left-hand side, and then this section overhead is that final stretch before you hit the brake run. Before I get any further, it is worth mentioning there's already a full separate review of Falcon's Flight already on this channel. Please go give it a watch if you want to hear about this attraction. It is an unbelievable experience that not just meets expectations, but surpasses them. On the other side of the Falcon's Flight track is our beautiful Six Flags Qiddiya City logo. I love the fountains surrounding it. At night, it looks even better. The color palette they've chosen for this park in general is incredible. And more than likely, when you visit, you'll be seeing this park dominantly at nighttime. As of right now, they actually open at 4 o'clock each day. Saudi Arabia is notorious for its intense heat, but cooler, more pleasant evenings. And so it's very normal that most people won't even go out until after it's dark. Now, when I was there in January, daytimes are actually fantastic. I would have loved for it to be open earlier, maybe in the winter time, like a 2 p.m. open, that'd be fantastic. But I also understand that many people don't get off work till even 5. So the 3 days that I was there, that first hour was actually pretty quiet. In general, the park got busier as the night went on, and they were open till midnight, some days even 1 a.m. That makes this a very different park experience than many of you might be used to. I did multiple days here in a row, and with those late hours and that long commute back to the hotel, it was an exhausting few days. You're going to bed at like 3, sometimes 4 a.m. Waking up then at noon, you have like a couple hours to get ready, and then you're starting the long drive back to Six Flags Qiddiya. From this plaza, you have guest services and ticket booths. Should for whatever reason you don't already have your ticket, I do recommend buying them online in advance, especially in case they sell out. They've been capping capacity relatively low as of recently to make sure that everyone has a great experience. On some of the days I was there, it was probably around like 5,000 people. On a normal day going forward, I'd expect probably around like 10,000. Fridays and Saturdays are considered the weekend in Saudi Arabia, so those will be your busiest days. If you want to maximize your time, I'd recommend weekdays, and they are open daily. Riyadh is a city of 8 million people. I wasn't sure if this park was going to have a traditional off-season, but it looks like it won't. This is planned to be a year-round park, and that's great, especially for people who want to avoid that hot summer season. Going in the wintertime was very pleasant. I wore a t-shirt during the day, light jacket in the evening. Is very comfortable. Now, tickets to Six Flags Qiddiya City will fluctuate depending on what day you go. They start as low as 250 reales, which is about 66 US dollars. When I went around its grand opening, it was about 375 reales or 100 US dollars. The highest I've seen it is $120 or 450 reales, and that's definitely going to be for those anticipated peak season days. Frankly though, considering the quality of the park, I think that price is very fair. This is meant to be a premium experience of the likes of Disney and Universal, and frankly, it is up to that same level of quality. If you expected to be able to walk in here with your Six Flags All Parks passport and scan in, unfortunately that is not the case. This is a Six Flags park, but it's a Qiddiya Investment Group project, just operated by Six Flags. A very similar relationship to Tokyo Disneyland with the Oriental Land Company. That's the same reason why this park is so much nicer than those other Six Flags parks back in North America. In the future, I would like to see a multi-day ticket option. As of now, you just have to buy it individually. Maybe they'll come up with some package deals once Aqua Arabia opens, but especially once these other theme parks start opening up, it'd be really cool if they were to come up with a park hopper option where you could go to Aqua Arabia during the day, pop over to ride Falcon's Flight, and then head over to Dragon Ball. That'd be pretty cool. Now, after you scan in, you'll take this long walk up the center aisle to the hub, which is known as the Citadel. You got rockwork on either side, views of Sea Stallion and the log flume to the left, and Adrenaline to the right. You can also see Sirocco Tower off in the distance. That ride's so freaking tall you can see it from pretty much anywhere, and you'll certainly hear it. It is noisy. As you get closer to the canopy, the landscape will start to change. You'll get these beautiful buildings on either side, lights hanging above. This is where you can get your Six Flags photos. There's a guest services building, and we were greeted with lots of different actors and characters welcoming us to the park. I have no idea if this is just a thing during special events or maybe just weekends, but it was like a street market vibe that added to the energy of the space. Then you enter this massive tent structure. The central citadel of Six Flags Qiddiya City is completely covered and even air conditioned. It's inspired by traditional Bedouin tents. These come from nomadic tribes that inhabited the desert regions of the Middle East, but on a massive scale. There's a full restaurant in here called the Navigator, a cafe, even a ride. There's a Zamperla Nebulas here called Sprockenator that's technically part of Steamtown, but it's under the cover of this canopy, and it was a brilliant ride choice for this area. Absolutely magnetic and so colorful at night. I was initially skeptical about a tent structure for the central hub, like how would that look? It's actually so nice, and twice a night they do a projection mapping show called Journey Through the Astros, where they have live actors on stage, incredible effects up on this tent showcasing the different themed areas, and it is stunning. Try to see this at least once. They do give you like a 15-minute heads up before it starts, so keep an eye out. It was so cool. But from here, you have a choice. Which land do you want to start with? Is it City of Thrills, Grand Exposition, Valley of Fortune, Twilight Gardens, Steamtown, or Discovery Springs? Six Flags Qiddiya City is a hub and spokes layout, so once you enter one land, you can access all the others from within. It's not an Epic Universe situation where it's just one way in, one way out. The layout is so cohesive, it's very easy to get around, but for whatever reason you do get lost, they have plenty of signage to point you in the direction you need to go. But it really doesn't take long to go from one side of the park to the other. I was actually surprised. Six Flags Qiddiya was a bit smaller than I expected. But that being said, you still do a lot of walking. There might not be a big gap between ride entrances, but there's still so much to see and explore. It's easy to just wander around and look at stuff. But I think we'll cover this layout in the counterclockwise direction, so we'll start with City of Thrills because I imagine most of you are going to run straight to Falcon's Flight anyways. This is immediately on the right-hand side. It's quite a short walk from the front entrance to the Falcon's Flight station. And this is the futuristic realm. Specifically, it's supposed to represent Saudi's Vision 2030, looking towards the future, pushing boundaries, and to me, it's if Tomorrowland was actually futuristic. We've always described Tomorrowland as charmingly retro, and this actually feels like the future. Tons of blue lighting, it is very, very sleek, and we have 4 rides in this area, including the 2 most expensive at Six Flags Qiddiya City. While I can't say for sure, I did see a commenter say that Falcon's Flight was 35% of the Six Flags Qiddiya budget. And if we assume that's true, that puts it around $350 million. And it sits right next to Sirocco Tower, the second tallest ride in the park and the second most expensive. I have a full review of Falcon's Flight, but I actually did not get to experience Sirocco Tower because it was the only ride in the park that had a late start. It opened after I left. But we still have a full POV up on the channel so you can see what that ride experience is like. So spoilers ahead, it's one of only 2 rides in the park that actually has a pre-show. You'll walk down to a lower level and board underground. The floor will then drop and your vehicle will then lower even further into the ground and then shoot you up all the way to the top. 475 feet in the air. That makes this the tallest drop tower ever built. Even if Zumanjaro was still standing, this is 60 feet higher. Sirocco is a hot, dry wind that originates from the Sahara Desert, so the story here is that Sirocco Tower is harnessing the winds to power the City of Thrills. That's why it's such a significant ride in this section. It's actually the first ride you would get to when you enter the land. It's a completely new vehicle and tower design from S&S Worldwide. From my understanding, it has 2 different settings. From those that have ridden it, I've heard that the view is amazing and shooting out from the ground is incredible, but overall they felt like it needed a bit more. But as with any of these compressed air towers, it requires a lot of fine tuning, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see some adjustments going forward. It's still early on. I imagine they'll be playing with the different cycles, and I'm excited to see what that other setting is. If this one shoots out from underground, I'd love to see a version where you drop underground. Remember, the tower is 475 feet above ground level, but if about a quarter or a third of it is underground, that makes that drop significantly taller. So this ride is wildly impressive all around. Across from Sirocco Tower is one of the park's many gift shops. Here you can get Sirocco Tower merch, Falcon's Flight merch. This park has merch for just about every attraction in the park, so be sure to stop in all the gift shops. They actually did a spectacular job with all the different designs. Up ahead, we have this beautiful fountain, and of course, right behind it, the queue for Falcon's Flight. I could go on and on about this ride for 31 minutes. So for the sake of this video, I'll move on to the attraction next door, Adrenaline. Surprisingly, one of the most popular rides at the park. It's an easy, family-friendly experience that everyone will be able to enjoy, and this is one of the few Vekoma family suspended coasters that operates with 2 trains. So already a huge improvement from some of these other models. They clearly had capacity in mind. The layout consists of a drop into a tunnel through an overbanked turn, very smooth and flowy twists, and even a mist effect. It was very re-rideable. Even as an enthusiast, I loved this ride. Now in City of Thrills, we have one main food location. It's actually Primo's Pizzeria. Yes, they do have one here in Six Flags Qiddiya. There's tons of food offerings around the park. I was able to try a lot of different locations. I'll try to highlight as much as I can. But Primo's Pizzeria was actually the first place that I ate inside Six Flags Qiddiya City, and it was genuinely good. For me, upper tier theme park pizza, like I would definitely take it over Pizza Rizzo over at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Then finally across from Primo's Pizzeria is the last ride of City of Thrills, Wind Rider. This is a gentle swing ride where you rise up and down, sway side to side. It's based off of weight, so it is actually kind of fun. The story here is that this is a gift from Falcon Industries, which is like the core group that runs City of Thrills. And the attraction is meant to take inspiration from Falcons and stealth aircraft. A very visually impressive attraction. Directly next to City of Thrills is Grand Exposition. Maybe my favorite entrance arch from the Citadel, and overall, one of the best themed lands of the park. Grand Exposition celebrates innovation. It combines the nostalgia of a traditional carnival with modern day science and technology. It's very turn of the century, like paying homage to World's Fairs, and like City of Thrills, it is such a vibe. Each attraction or building here reflects a different culture. One of the first things you'll notice is this massive tower bridge from London. It's actually home to, funny enough, a set of bumper cars themed to taxis and traffic, which is hilarious and fantastic. Incredible name too, Roundabout. Directly across from it is a fish and chips place. I did not eat here. I don't think I'm the target demographic for this one, but I love that they included that as an option. Expo Flyer is the land's centerpiece, a very Chinese-inspired wave swinger, beautiful. It sits next to a large restaurant called Taste of Asia. They dominantly serve Chinese food, so you can get a combo with like beef, chicken, or shrimp with noodles and rice. I did get to try it out, and I liked it, and I think I would eat here again. The shrimp was my favorite part. So we had a ride in a restaurant from the UK, a ride in a restaurant from China. In the back of Grand Exposition, we have 2 rides inspired by the Middle East, a beautifully themed Arabian carousel, and gyro spin. This is one of those world record breaking rides that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Absolutely massive. It takes a while to reach that maximum height, but once you hit it, you get several full swings in motion, and as you rotate, there'll be moments where you're actually upside down. It doesn't do a full 360, but that's okay. I think this is actually more enjoyable. You get lots of big floater airtime. One of the better swings that I've done. If there's any downside to this attraction, it does take a while to load, and also has metal detectors outside the entrance, so you have to put all your loose items in a locker and then wait in the potentially long standby line without any way to pass the time. And that's kind of my only real big critique of Six Flags Qiddiya, is that is the case for several attractions here. Gyrospin has lockers out front alongside Iron Rattler, Colossus, and Spitfire. Falcon's Flight is the only ride in the park that has lockers and metal detectors just before you board, so you can wait with your items. I love that they are able to integrate that to the attraction. It'd be nice if they were able to somehow work that system in with these rides, because inherently it stinks when a ride has a 30 or 40 minute wait or even an hour long line, and you can't communicate with the rest of your party what your status is. It can be boring, and I guess I'm just surprised that we're still doing it this way in 2026. Now, next door to Gyrospin is the land's signature attraction, Colossus. Like Falcon's Flight, there's already a full separate review for this GCI wind roller coaster up on the channel. I definitely recommend giving that video a watch. This ride is crazy, probably the best paced roller coaster in the park. But Grand Exposition as a whole is probably the most eye-catching land, maybe my favorite to walk around. I really hope they're able to expand it one day. I think if I could pick any ride for Grand Exposition, it would be a big Ferris wheel, but not just any Ferris wheel. I would add a coaster wheel from Intamin, because the whole thing with this land is it's meant to celebrate like classic fairs, right? But bring in new technology. A coaster wheel is such a unique take on a Ferris wheel. And if you've seen Time Rider at Jeongju World in South Korea, that attraction looks incredible, and that's a family-friendly attraction, gives you nice views. It'd definitely be a fan favorite. Next up, from Grand Exposition, we're going to move on to Valley of Fortune. A land of buried treasure. Explorers from all over the world have come here seeking riches, trying to decode symbols, exploring the ruins of an old masonry. It feels like something out of Indiana Jones. Canyon Charters is another swing-based flat ride. Across from it is Treasure Trail, a Jeep ride. A nice little themed experience with onboard audio. I personally did not get to experience it, but I was told from some other members of our group that it was a fine experience. They felt like it was a little light on the scenery. It'd be nice if there was more to look at. But it was still a nice inclusion, and I like that even this ride has its own exit gift shop. They do that with like every big ride here. You wouldn't expect that from the Jeeps, but here it is. And that's just funny. Skywatch is an Intamin flying island, specifically their new generation version. One of the most complex rides here because unlike the previous iterations, this does not use a counterweight. It just has a really strong motor. And when you think about it that way, this ride is suddenly so impressive. Not only is it just magnificent to watch, but rising up on this is just so cool. You can walk around at the top, get a view of the entire park as it rotates. My only complaint is it is a very short cycle. You don't have very long at the top, and I wish you did. I understand they got to keep that line moving, but even just one extra rotation would be really nice. And the last ride in Valley of Fortune is the signature attraction, Spitfire, an Intamin swing launch coaster with the world's highest inversion. It's a really fun attraction, short, just the top hat launch section and spike, but it's well themed based around biplane races through a canyon. And the presentation is great, but I can't help but wish they had built this ride on the other side of the park. It would have more of a presence over there. Here, it just looks tiny compared to Falcon's Flight. Kinda sucks when if you stack two Spitfires on top of each other, you still wouldn't be taller than Falcon's Flight's Camelback. So I think they did Spitfire dirty. I feel bad for this ride. I will be interested to see if they're able to expand this zone. Right now, there's a gate to the right of Spitfire that leads to a backstage area. It's an access point for team members. One day, if they wanted to fit an additional attraction to this land, I do think this would be the spot to do it. I'm sure they could make it work. If they were willing to move all the offices, they could probably fit another roller coaster, but if not, you might be looking at something smaller, maybe a flat ride or two. As for food, there's two main locations I want to highlight. Valley Canteen is the place to go for North American classics like burgers. They have cheesesteaks that I've heard are actually amazing. And then Indian Spice Cafe is for your more traditional Indian cuisine. Lots of curries, and I've heard they have really good buttered chicken. I did miss this place last time, but I would love to try it. And I just love how this park has food from all over the world. No matter where you come from, you can try something that reminds you of home or taste something from another culture. And so many theme parks could learn from that because I'm so sick of eating the same freaking foods at every theme park in the US. This is a park that did food right. But moving on to our fourth land, Twilight Gardens. Six Flags Qiddiya City might not necessarily have like a kid zone, but if they did, this would be it. Everything has this oversized landscape, tons of colorful flowers, friendly creatures. It's very pretty. I love this Midway Games display. There's a splash battle, great I'm sure in the summertime. Twilight Express is the park's kids coaster. It's a Vekoma Horus model, the same as like Midnight Flyer at Santa's Village in New Hampshire. Very cute ride. It's themed to a ladybug's first flight. That's adorable. The ride is surrounded by flowers and butterflies. It's great. You know, Six Flags isn't really known for their dark rides, but how nice of a change of pace is it that they actually have two here? And they've made a solid attempt at theming them. Enchanted Greenhouse is what I would say is the big ride of Twilight Gardens. It's actually trackless. It's the other ride that has a pre-show. The idea here is that everything in the greenhouse comes to life. You're spraying the plants with this magical dew sprayer, but you're working as a team. So it's not a competition between your riding partners. It's more of a competition with your vehicle versus others. Very charming ride that even features animatronics. Twilight Cafe is the big restaurant in Twilight Gardens. There you can get fish and steak. And then nearby is another place called Chicken and Sweets. They're home to like fried chicken and french fries and whatnot. Twilight Gardens, though, as a whole, was probably the land I spent the least amount of time in. For me, they're lacking like a big standout attraction. Enchanted Greenhouse is good, but to me it doesn't feel like the anchor. I think this should be the first land to receive an expansion. On the other side of the splash battle near Spitfire, there's some land available, and if they were able to reroute a couple things, I believe they could put in something cool. Not even necessarily like a huge, crazy, thrilling roller coaster. I think another solid family thrill coaster could be a good option. Right now, I'd say Adrenaline is the closest you get to like family thrill. And I think something a bit larger, maybe a bit more intense, but not too much, could be a good attraction. Let me know in the comments what you think would be a good fit for this area. Well, welcome to Steamtown for land number 5. As the name suggests, it is all steampunk, where the past meets the future. It's a rugged frontier town powered by steam, designed by a character that might feel a little familiar, Professor Screamore. He had a Vekoma SLC back at Six Flags America, and it went through a couple changes, no longer around at the moment. He'll be moving on to his newest creation at Six Flags New England, Quantum Accelerator, but at the moment he's taken up residency at Iron Rattler, the world's tallest tilt coaster, an insanely impressive attraction there at the end of Gear Street. Probably the best visuals in the park. This walkway with the tilt and vertical drop at the end is just magnetic. Everyone who's in this land stops and takes a picture of what's ahead of them. It is that cool. But believe it or not, Steamtown is actually more than this one street. This is probably the biggest land in terms of overall space. Iron Rattler obviously takes up a lot of room, but you also technically have Sprockinator as a part of Steamtown. There's a family flat ride called Steel Stampede where you're like herding a group of mechanical bulls. And then we also have another roller coaster, this one, a mock water coaster, Sawmill Falls. In this case, you're boarding one of Professor Screamore's prototype vehicles traveling through Steamtown's production plant. It's a custom water coaster, 74 feet tall, top speed 46 miles per hour, similar to Poseidon at Europa Park. When we rode it in the front row, we didn't get that wet, and it was when it was like mildly chilly out, and it made me wonder if they were like controlling the soak level. Like in the summer, will this ride just get you wrecked? I guess we'll have to wait and find out, but having water rides here is a no-brainer with that Saudi heat. We've talked about the splash battle, you have this water coaster, and then there's 2 more in Discovery Springs. As far as food goes, there's 2 main locations I'll highlight. Gearworks Eatery is right across from Iron Rattler's entrance. That's local cuisine like shawarma and whatnot. I didn't get to try this, but I definitely will next time. I did get to eat it though, Fire Pit Barbecue. This was very good, but also expensive. Up until this point, I'd say it's like normal theme park pricing for food, but we definitely spent a decent amount to eat at this barbecue place. I liked it, but maybe not somewhere you'll eat every time you visit. And finally, that brings us to Discovery Springs, the first land that you could access if you were to go to the left from the Citadel. The idea with Discovery Springs is this is where the desert meets the sea. You have lots of different waterfalls, aqueducts. They describe it like a dense rainforest in the desert. And after Twilight Gardens, this was probably the other land I spent the least amount of time in. Most of the rides here to me were a one and done, or I didn't get to do them at all. Big Splash is this Zamperla like drop tower that results in a huge wave. It's a big spectacle, but it wasn't like hot out when I visited, so I wasn't too keen on experiencing this, but I was actually intrigued and would like to do it eventually. Zuma Fluma is the park's log flume. I enjoy a good flume, and this one was pretty solid. I like all the rock work and interactions with Sea Stallion. That's the Mauer Spike Coaster, probably the second longest line in the park that we saw behind Falcon's Flight. It's the tallest and fastest spike coaster in the world, threads through several waterfalls. It's a powered coaster, and you can use the handlebars to like somewhat control the speed. If you don't touch it, it'll still go like normal, but it does give you some feeling of being in control. I thought that the ride experience had a pretty decent first half, but a weirdly paced second half that didn't feel right. I did the ride twice, and both times I noticed it, so I think they need to adjust the programming on this. At the moment, I actually prefer the ones on the cruise ships. Bolt, more enjoyable ride experience, even though it's not as long. And then finally, that brings us to the park's second dark ride, Into the Deep. This is another interactive shooting dark ride, but this one you are competing with your fellow riders. The ride vehicles rotate screen to screen. It's kind of a similar system to Primordial at Lagoon, but you're not on a roller coaster. I only did this ride once, and overall I was a little underwhelmed with it. I will always applaud parks for including dark rides. I think they're a necessary part of the theme park experience, especially during the heat, but I think this one needs a little bit of work. There's definitely some moments out of sync, and overall the visuals were just kind of okay. And as far as food goes, there's just one main restaurant here, Waha Cafe. They specialize in burgers and chicken sandwiches, and they were actually really good. The selection was very creative and non-traditional. So that is your lap around Six Flags Qiddiya City. Just a couple broad points. If it's not abundantly obvious, They had a huge budget for this park. It feels so nice as you're walking around. Like it's almost luxurious. It is such a classy park. And just because it looks expensive doesn't mean it feels soulless. Six Flags Qiddiya is actually packed full of charm, way more than most Six Flags parks. Each land has its own custom soundtrack. With this also being a nighttime park, it's important that they have good lighting, and shout out to those lighting technicians and designers. They nailed it. The overall aesthetic and color palette is phenomenal. They even thought to light up the cliffs behind the park. What a backdrop to bring everything together. You can see these huge lasers and spotlights up top. It helps everything feel so grand, like this is an event. And considering how far some people are going to travel to come here, it kind of is an event. They treat every day like it's a special occasion. I did 3 days here straight, and I did not get sick of the place. I could have done a fourth. I was sad to leave because I know how far away I live. Selfishly, I wish it was closer. But I'm so happy for the locals here that finally, they have a world-class park of their own. For how many of the people here, they've gone their entire lives without having a home park. And I think it's amazing that they finally get one on this scale, and it's all done without any intellectual properties. This is a Six Flags park without DC characters. No Batman, no Superman, no Looney Tunes, and I don't miss them at all. I feel like IP can sometimes hold people back. There's restrictions and things that they have to follow. And in this situation, it forced them to be creative. And the concepts developed for each of these lands are wonderful. It is so apparently obvious to me that the people behind this park genuinely love what they do. Everyone who worked to bring this park to life should be so proud of themselves. The passion and attention to detail radiates from this place. And for me, it checks off all the boxes. For an opening day lineup, their attractions are so good. They're utilizing the best technology. They have just thought of everything, and it made the guest experience so fluid and easy. Six Flags Qiddiya City immediately shot up into one of the best theme parks I've ever visited. The park was spotless, the team members were happy and excited to be there and so friendly. Everyone in our group was greeted with a smile, and even when the park was quiet, everything was fully staffed. That is most certainly not the case with other Six Flags parks. And I think that really brings me to my hope that this park is successful. I really want this park to do well because it deserves to do well. Yes, the overall Qiddiya City plans are very ambitious. Will all 12 of their planned theme parks happen? I don't know. I'm skeptical about that. But if just right now, there's only one theme park there and nothing else, and rides like Falcon's Flight are still accumulating like a 2 or 3 hour line at times, it shows that people are willing to travel, even with it being an hour from the city. I saw ads for Six Flags Qiddiya in Dubai. That's a whole flight away, and that's more ads that I saw for Six Flags Qiddiya than Motion Gate or IMG in their own city. And right now, I think it's clear that the team is going to be focusing on growing the area around Six Flags, not necessarily the park itself, but I don't think that it's going to remain stagnant and just stay how it is forever. I think if I could round out their collection with any other thrill coaster, a Mach Extreme Spinner would probably be towards the top of my list. And if any park could afford to revive the SNS 4D coaster, I think it'd be Qiddiya. Give me an Ed Janica here. Oh my gosh, I think I'd cry. Ultimately, though, any future additions will depend on if people come out to Qiddiya City, show them their support, and if that happens, then I think they'll have a promising future. But you can let me know down in the comments below if you've been to Six Flags Qiddiya City, what your thoughts were on it, if you agree with the points that I brought up, and if you're new to the channel, please go check out the Park Reviews playlist full of reviews from properties all across the world in alphabetical order. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your support, and I will see you next time.